Hi, Mike. Sup? As you may have heard, Nostalrius, the fan server you shut down, has a petition calling for legacy servers for World of Warcraft. I've got it right here. Over 230,000 signatures and thousands of comments, nearly 10,000 pages in all. I've printed it all out because I thought it might be more tangible this way to see in physical form. I also have here a list of top Twitch streamers who have pledged their support to legacy servers and promise to start streaming WoW again if they return. They have a combined total audience of 14 million viewers.
How players react to what developers do matters a lot. Whatever you talk on Reddit, forums, Discord, in your friend group, every opinion stacks up. Sometimes it can be the difference between a shit game and a masterpiece. The difference between saving a game or letting it die. It's not the player's responsibility in the end, but as a community we do have power, and sometimes that matters. Same goes for content creators, right? It's just amplified. The bigger the creator, the bigger the impact, which is why I have a real problem with one of the more recent videos from Taliesin Evitel. The video hosted by Evitel makes a lot of smart, insightful points. I agree with about 95% of it. But that remaining 5% is really bad. Like, this mindset causes long-term damage for the game. And that's what this video is about. Before we get into it, I do need a few quick disclaimers since I'm directly talking about a creator that is much bigger than me. This will be quick, but if you don't really care, I'll leave a timestamp on the screen right now. First of all, this is not a personal attack. I'm subscribed to them. I like their channel. I like most of their videos, and I'm generally happy to see one of their videos pop up in my feed. I really disagree with this statement, but that is it. So if by some miracle this video gets more attention than what I expect, please don't be weird or hostile toward anyone. But again, that being said, I genuinely think the logic she uses here and what she says in this video is really toxic for the game overall. And that's a serious problem, especially considering they might be some of the last big creators still talking about World of Warcraft exclusively. Second, her video is about player housing. This one isn't. I'm criticizing a broader statement she makes at the start, a way of thinking that has nothing to do with housing specifically and could apply to a ton of other systems, unfortunately. Third and last, this isn't a react video. The part I care about is around 3 minutes at the start of a 20-minute video. I'll show what matters, but I'm ignoring the rest because I agree with it. She makes good points, as I said. I just have nothing to add there. Editing will be light, this is mostly me talking. I'll leave some footage of me leveling a mage for the first time, and it's on hardcore of course. But there will be some extra editing here and there when it makes sense and when it is required. So just use this video as second monitor content, okay? Grind, clean, fall asleep while listening, whatever. Alright. As I said, I agree with most of her points. She praised housing a lot, and she's right. I've been very vocal about retail's issues, but housing is a clear exception. It's very well done. Its value goes far beyond building cool houses. The tech will almost certainly be reused elsewhere. It enables community events and social interaction, and it's great ultra-casual content with zero gameplay downsides. From a gameplay perspective, housing is a huge win. From a business perspective though, this is Blizzard we're talking about. The biggest issue is Hearthsteel, a new premium currency meant to sell housing items for real money. And here's the objectively correct reaction to that. I hate this is dog shit, and the person who came up with this idea should not work on the game anymore. This is not a free-to-play MMO. This is a subscription-based game that also charges full AAA price for every expansion. That's already 2 major monetization models in one single game. You can also buy mounts, pets, transmog, gold, boosts, race, faction, and name changes, transfers between servers, early access, and now another premium currency, all of it with real-life money. Even by rock-bottom standards. This is bullshit. Hearthsteel is the biggest problem, but not the only one. Blizzard will absolutely make some housing items insanely expensive in gold and hard to obtain, with the pure goal of selling more WoW tokens. Thinking this isn't designed with the idea of pushing WoW tokens in mind is just insanely naive, and she knows it. Anyway, let's see what she says about this.
Player housing in World of Warcraft is the ideal subscription milking model. You, the player, the consumer, are given a little sandbox in which to express yourself. That expression mostly taking the form of collecting a tiny digital participation trophy, sometimes requiring hundreds of hours of gameplay, and the collection of otherwise obsolete resources that in some cases can only be acquired through outdated, time-gated content, effectively keeping you in a perpetual farming loop as you tick off all the things to be collected. A list which grows as the game adds more content. A list fueled by FOMO and jealousy of your neighbor's progressively shinier plot. It is an endless and Sisyphean grind being the operative word here, added atop your existing baseline grind, of course, and the pressure to gather and collect will be so great that you will succumb. You will buy the WoW token, or 5, and then you're gonna top it off with a nice cauldron of Hearthsteel, thus granting Activision Blizzard even more of your real-life money, your time, all in service of our dear and beloved friends, the shareholders, the end. Amen. So, this is beneficial to everyone, whether they like housing or not, because on a basic level, it makes Blizz a ton of cash and stokes a gazillion hours of engagement, which makes capitalism happy. And when capitalism is happy, it's slightly more likely that our favorite game won't be shut down so that this shareholders can sell off the office furniture for a little more profit one quarter. There's no doubt that the success of housing makes it a fair bit more likely WoW will still be here in 10 years' time, and that's good. Probably.
So her take on Hearthsteel and the entire WoW token situation is a positive one. The logic is that it makes shareholders happy because they make money, which helps keep the game alive long term. That way of thinking is insanely toxic and damaging to the game directly. And I have a theory for why she feels that way, but before that, let's talk about why this argument is so bad. Yes, technically, if World of Warcraft makes more money, Blizzard and the shareholders will be happier to keep it alive. That part is true, but there are two massive problems here. How sustainable the monetization is long term, and how healthy it is for the game itself. At the end of the day, Blizzard can add any microtransaction they want. They could make it so you are only allowed to play one character, and every extra character slot costs $20. Would that make money? Sure, it would short term, but within a month, subs would nosedive as people quit and money would start disappearing, right? There are always insane outliers. You could charge $5 per login, and some people would still play as long as the servers remain online. But that's not the question. The question is that a good way to make money? And the answer is no. It's short-term, extractive, and destructive to the game. The best way to make money is obvious, and we all know it. Get a lot of people playing your game for a long time, like they did during Wrath of the Lich King, and keep growing that player base by delivering a good product all the time. Let's be conservative. Say World of Warcraft had 15 million players today if Blizzard hadn't spent the last 15 years stuffing the game with every microtransaction under the sun. 15 million players paying $15 a month is $2.7 billion a year. Add to that $50 per expansion from each player. That's $3.5 billion. Factor in stuff like merch, classic, and everything classic related, and you're easily at $5 billion a year, probably even more. And that's with only 15 million subs. Not that much above the Wrath of the Lich King peak. They could go above that. The demand is clearly there. Just look at the massive spike during Warlords of Draenor's launch. People want Warcraft. Blizzard just has to make a good fucking game. Which brings me to the second point. Is Hearthsteel, or systems like Hearthsteel, good for the game? Obviously not. World of Warcraft already has every form of monetization under the sun. So what's the goal here? Keeping the game alive by slowly making it worse with another microtransaction? That's not a win. Making more money in the short term by squeezing more and more money out of a smaller and smaller player base, while pushing more and more people out of the game and out of love with the franchise, is not healthy. Why would I be happy that Blizzard is keeping World of Warcraft alive by actively fucking it up with microtransactions? That logic makes absolutely no sense. Being glad that the game survives by getting worse is insane. Imagine From Software adding a season pass to Elden Ring, locking a new class behind a paywall, and selling exclusive weapons for real-life money. And fans going, hell yeah, this means From Software will keep making games because of this extra revenue. As if Elden Ring being good wouldn't already be enough for its success financially. Once you go down this road, you'll never really know how much money you could have made simply by making a great game and being a trusted, respected developer. I know I'm not alone in what I'm going to say next, because I remember big content creators like Asmongold, Kriparian, Sodapoppin, Mad Season, all saying the same thing at some point. And that thing is the fact that there was a time when we bought Blizzard games because they were Blizzard games. I never played Diablo 1 or 2 before Diablo 3 was launched. But I loved Warcraft, Starcraft and World of Warcraft so much that I bought it out of pure trust, respect and wanting to support one of my favorite developers at the time. And I'm sure a lot of people did the same with many of their games. The goodwill you have with your fans matters a lot. Being a good developer is profitable beyond any single game release. If the next From Software game is a bit under what we expect, many people will still buy it because From Software earned their trust and their goodwill by delivering bangers over and over again. On the other hand, imagine Ubisoft releasing a genuinely very good game. It would still underperform compared to how good it is, because some people would refuse to buy the game out of principle because they hate them due to all those greedy and shitty games they released for so long. So yes, developers making a good game is obviously what you should want as a gamer, as a fan, and as a customer. But even financially, it can be better long term for the company too. And even if it's not the absolute most profitable and most greedy option, when simply making a great game is already more than enough for it to keep existing, there are zero excuses to make the game worse just to squeeze more money out of it, and there's no reason for you to be happy about it. That's greed. And there are plenty of great games that showed that this kind of greed does not need to be part of the picture. And when big channels like Taliesin Evitel frame this mindset as positive, that's dangerous for the game. It normalizes this kind of stuff. It makes this kind of monetization feel acceptable, even desirable, because she says that this is a great thing, that WoW will still keep being developed because of this. She presents it as something you should be happy about, even if you don't care about housing at all. Again, imagine Elden Ring content creators saying, man, even if you hate PvP, you should be happy that this PvP microtransaction exists, because it helps From Software make more games. That sounds insane because it is insane. And that's the saddest part. We know players, content creators and communities pushing back together can make a difference. We've seen it happen. That's why complaining matters. Not blind hate, but rational pushback. Praising what's good, but still calling out what's bad. It's not a save-it-all moment. Sometimes nothing changes. But doing nothing, and worse, praising this shit, feels awful and will do something bad for sure. With WoW, it's even sadder. All the big content creators are gone. The biggest WoW YouTube creator left is probably Mad Season, but even him, he posts far less than he used to, and he's not even World of Warcraft only anymore. On Twitch, Xario is probably the last true WoW only streamer that's decently big. He's not small, but the Twitch scene doesn't compare to how it used to be 10 to 5 years ago. Most veterans are gone. Some came back for a bit, some quit for good. And why? Because creators started leaving or drastically reduced coverage around Shadowlands. But before that, they did try. From 2018 to 2020, the WoW sphere was full of complaints about retail. Everyone was crying because the game was so bad. Blizzard didn't care though. People left. They did try, and this time it didn't work. Or maybe it did. Because even so, leaving sent a message, and Blizzard did pay attention at that point, at least for a time. The lore and the vibe are still very bad, but gameplay-wise, Dragonflight and The War Within were big improvements over Shadowlands and BFA. And now, the remaining creators praise Hearthsteel. There is no Asmongold or Preach making videos with millions of views calling this shit out. Those people left, and the creators that are still around, I don't know man, sometimes it honestly feels like they're paid by Blizzard. That non-stop acceptance of dumb shit without any real pushback and never pointing to really bad things about the game is exactly what got us into Shadowlands in the first place. Do we really want to start walking down that same road again? And here's my theory on why so many retail creators defend these things that shouldn't be defended. The game isn't growing anymore. Realistically, very few actual new players start WoW each year. That low influx makes keeping veterans happy very important. And for retail content creators, the audience is their income. If you constantly tell people that the game is bad, you risk driving your own audience away because they quit the game and are not interested in you covering the news and sharing your opinion on the game anymore, right? So they defend even the indefensible. They hype microtransactions like Hearthsteel, planting the idea that they're good before outrage even happens. They could just skip it, talk about the good stuff in housing, and leave Hearthsteel alone. But they don't. They preemptively frame it as something to celebrate. So when people do inevitably start crying about it, the number of people that quit because of another fucking microtransaction is as little as possible, and if possible, none from their audience. Maybe that's a little tinfoily, maybe it's not, but it kind of fits the pattern. At the end of the day, statements like this are really bad for the game. Hearthsteel is shit. It shouldn't exist, there's absolutely nothing good about it, there's no reason for it to exist, and players shouldn't be happy about it. Complaining in general is good if you want a better game. That's why most of my videos about Classic or about retail are negative. I'm not gonna fake positivity in a time where the game is kind of shit. Classic is in a super stale place because Blizzard takes forever to realize what needs to be done and doing it, when private servers with 100 times less resources did it for the past 5 years. My confidence in Classic Plus and Blizzard is kind of low, and for retail there are plenty of videos where I shit on it, and more will come as long as I still care about the game, because believe it or not, I still care about retail. I still do. Anyway, this is the video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you liked it, please consider subscribing and liking. Till next time, peace.